Good morning and welcome to a special edition of The Balancing Act Presents Behind the Mystery of Gaucher Disease.
It's an inherited genetic disorder that occurs when the body is missing an enzyme that breaks down fatty substances, causing them to build up in different parts of the body.
And each person who suffers and lives with Gaucher suffers through it differently.
Today, a world-renowned expert will provide further understanding of this disease. Plus, we have an exclusive in-studio interview with Prevail Therapeutics and the co-founders of the Gaucher Community Alliance.
Wow. But first, let's meet Fan, who can share with us the ups and downs of living with Gaucher for almost 4 decades. Take a look at this.
I was too little to understand what's going on, but I kept on asking, why is this happening to me? Everyone else in the family was apparently to be very healthy. I was born in Beijing, China in 1984. And at the age of 2, I was diagnosed with Gaucher disease type 1. My parents were told that at that time there was no treatment available for Gaucher, and the life expectancy for me was 10 years. My childhood was very painful in a way physically. I felt a lot of discomfort, pain. I was sick all the time. I pretty much lived half time at the children's hospital. And by the time I was 4, they had to perform a splenectomy. And I felt better in a couple months following that, but eventually all the Gaucher symptoms came back. Luckily, I had the best parents in the world. They never gave up on me. When they were told that I wouldn't live past 10, they decided that they were gonna do everything in their power for me. And my dad went to every medical conference there is that he could learn about Gaucher disease or lysosomal storage disorders. When I turned 8, my liver was enlarged to the point that I was going through liver failure. I was almost bedbound most of the time, and there is still no treatment available, and we're hitting very close to that 10-year life expectancy that the doctors told my parents.
Dr. Ozlem Goker-Alpan is the founder and president of the Lysosomal and Rare Disorders Research and Treatment Center in Fairfax, Virginia.
Lysosomes are small organelles in the cell. However, they have big functions, which is the removal of the waste material and recycling them to other cellular units. Collectively, there are 70 or more disorders where the lysosomal proteins, including the enzymes of these transport proteins, malfunction due to genetic inherited variants. Gaucher disease is one of the most common lysosomal disorder. It is caused by defects in a gene called GBA1, which is responsible from breakdown of a complex lipid or fat. The deposition of this lipid in various organs and tissues lead to the presentation of Gaucher disease, including enlargement of the spleen and liver, involvement of the bone marrow, the skeletal system, in extreme cases, the nervous system, and also other systems such as the lungs are involved. Gaucher disease is a chronic disease. The burden of the disease carries all through the life that impacts the quality of life.
Since my dad has been going to all these medical conferences throughout the years, one of the conferences he went was about a breakthrough in enzyme replacement therapy for lysosomal storage disorders. So my dad reached out to one of the doctors at the medical conference, and he was able to get a referral for enzyme replacement therapy in the US. So I became the first Gaucher patients to receive enzyme replacement therapy in China. And the local nurses were trained over the telephone by the US nurses on how to administer it. Receiving the enzyme replacement therapy was life-changing. My liver shrank to the normal size within, I would say, 6 months, and I felt healthy as a normal child for the first time in my life. Since I was the first patient in China to receive the treatment, I've been a lot of interviews, and one of the reporters was a personal friend of then President Bill Clinton, and she offered to bring any words that I have for him. And obviously, we never expected to hear anything back. But a couple months later, we actually received a letter signed by the president saying that he was very happy to hear the U.S. medical team can help to save a girl's life halfway across the world.
We divide the Gaucher disease into two distinct clinical types. This is dependent on whether the central nervous system is mainly involved or not. So when the central nervous system is not involved, we call it type 1. The onset may be from early childhood to later years, and some individuals may remain asymptomatic. The most common presentation is a swollen belly or abdomen due to the enlargement of the spleen and less commonly the liver. The involvement of the bone marrow will lead to decreased platelet count and then secondary manifestations such as fatigue. Involvement of the skeletal system can lead to bone pain and bone crisis. Type 2 or acute neuronopathic Gaucher disease presents early in infancy. Unfortunately, this type of Gaucher disease is invariably fatal by age 4 due to the involvement of mainly the brainstem. Type 3 Gaucher disease is something in between type 2 and type 1 with more severe systemic involvement. The neurological involvement is variable, and other abnormalities that can be in between these type 2 patients versus type 1.
I couldn't walk. I was bedbound at home all the time. All I can remember now, it was still just the pain. Because it was a US FDA-approved medication, by the time I was 12 years old, I was no longer able to get access to it. That is when I started to experience my first bone crisis. I had a lower right leg infection. I couldn't walk. I was bedbound at home all the time. All I can remember now, it was still just the pain. The only way that my dad could think of to save my life was to bring me to the US for treatment. So my dad took me to the U.S. Embassy to apply for a B2 visitor visa, and we had a medical letter from the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center and the letter that we received earlier from President Bill Clinton. When my dad and I arrived in America, I was admitted to the Children's Hospital at the UPMC Medical Center. We had gone through 3 surgeries on my lower right leg. And by the last time, the doctors were telling me that if we can't get all the infection out this time, we would have to amputate your leg. So what's on my mind was literally just, please stop the pain, like do anything you can. Thankfully, the doctors were able to get all the infections out of my leg, and I started on the enzyme replacement therapy again, which made my health improve dramatically. We knew that I had to stay in America because if I had gone back to Beijing, I would have no access to the treatment and I would die.
Almost 99% of the cases will be confirmed by fully sequencing the GBA1 gene. Having a disorder and not finding a reason for the problems that you are experiencing will not only bring a physical issue, but also a psychosocial issue. Similarly, we can miss the crucial stage where we can implement treatment which could be beneficial to the patient. So what is being done now is actually looking into asymptomatic or not yet symptomatic cases with either prenatal screening in high-risk groups, and also there are currently 6 states that are testing for Gaucher disease in their newborn screening programs.
So after I got discharged from the hospital, for the first time I feel as healthy as a normal teenager. And that is when my parents and I realized that I've made over that 10-year life expectancy and that there might be a future for me.
Industry and advocacy are an integral part of the rare disease community. Let's meet 3 leaders making a difference.
I'm so passionate about advocacy. Personally, about 30 years ago, advocacy saved my life. I had to advocate and I had a positive outcome. Now I'm watching the power of advocacy help others and to see them changing their outcomes in so many ways. But nobody is a better advocate than the patient themselves.
I was diagnosed with Gaucher disease at 13 years old after many years of trying to figure out what was wrong with me.
I was diagnosed with Gaucher disease when I was 27 years old after 20 years of symptoms with no answers.
Being a patient with Gaucher disease has really helped to understand what the needs are in the patient community and try to figure out the right ways to create services to fill those needs.
The Gaucher Community Alliance is a true collaboration between the patient community, the medical community, and the industry. We believe that this triumvirate provides the best possible outcomes for the community.
When we come back, our exclusive in-studio interview with Aviva, Cyndi, and Jim. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Joining us in the studio is Jim Howley, Global Lead of Patient Advocacy and Engagement at Prevail Therapeutics, as well as Cyndi Frank and Aviva Rosenberg, co-founders of Gaucher Community Alliance.
Thank you all for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
The two of you started the Gaucher Community Alliance, right?
Yes.
How did it come to be?
We saw a need in the community. I had been involved with the Gaucher community for quite a while. Aviva was interested in supporting the community, so when we met, we decided that we needed to fill these patient needs.
And both of you have a background where you could have really done something about this, right? Can you share that with me?
Yeah, so I'm a healthcare attorney. I practiced law for over 20 years. And so in terms of forming an organization like a 501c3, the nonprofit, that was sort of in my house. And then Cyndi has had years of nonprofit experience. And so her network and her knowledge and her experience working with patients, we sort of put those skills together and created a patient advocacy organization.
That's fantastic. It's like you were meant to find each other. I love that.
Look, Jim, you've been an advocate of working with patients for over 20 years. What have you learned and how have things changed over the 20 years?
Well, first of all, the attitude of industry has really changed. You know, scientists thought they can do what they do without any input. We found out the more input, the better. How are these people affected by this disease? That's important. You know, what is missing in their lives? How can we partner together to get the best feedback? And fast forward 20 years, now we're getting feedback from people like the GCA on protocol review, on things like examining anything we're putting in front of patients. We don't think we know it all. We know we don't. These guys know it all.
So what is Prevail doing, or what are some things they're doing to kind of gather those insights?
Well, again, we learn every day from the experts. Patient insight roundtables. We want to know what the caretakers need too, because it's not just about the patient anymore. It's about the caretaker. How's it going to affect their family? But it's more about learning how we can partner so that we're not doing one thing, they're doing another thing. We do it together and we get the best advice possible.
Now let's talk about the support you give to families and, like he said, caretakers. My brother had a rare disease and it affected me tremendously. So what do you do to support not only the person that's diagnosed, but the caretaker as well?
When someone calls us or emails us, we're the ones responding, we're the ones picking up the phone. And we find it incredibly important to have that really personal, individualized interaction with patients and family members because they all go through something so different. For example, recently we got a phone call from a newly diagnosed patient and mother in California, and they were desperate to really connect with someone who's going through the same thing.
It makes a difference to just talk to that one person that's been through it.
And now, how many people are affected by this disease?
So in the United States, there's approximately 10,000 patients affected by Gaucher disease, and most of them are type 1 patients like ourselves. One of the things that we hope to do is to increase newborn screening as an organization, because right now only 6 states in the country are screening for Gaucher. And so we believe there's many undiagnosed patients out there that are just searching and searching for a diagnosis. And so we hope to accomplish that.
We love bringing industry together with advocacy groups, but what have you guys learned from each other?
It's three things that make the patient community a strong and empowered community, and that's working together with patient advocates, it's the medical community, and then ultimately the industry team. And it's the combination of those three legs that allow for the patient community to grow and feel empowered.
And we're both after the same thing, helping the patient. But they come at it from a different area than we do, and together I think it's pretty powerful.
Hearing it from patients and people that are going through it, that's the key.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for being here for sure. Absolutely.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And when we come back, Montel, more with Fan and Dr. Goker-Alpan. Stay with us.
I was in my last semester of grad school when I had my second bone crisis. One night, I woke up to this sharp pain to my right hip, and the next morning I went to the ER where I was told that I needed a median total hip replacement surgery. So my dad had gone back to China. I didn't have any family support going through the surgery by myself. However, I was very fortunate to have very close friends from school, and they've been very helpful throughout the whole time. The surgery was very successful. I was able to recover, and I went back to finish my master's degree in the following semester. And now I'm working at a large pharmaceutical company.
So the main management point is to provide individualized care for individualized patients. In addition to the primary care for a patient with Gaucher disease, meaning treating, following, and managing patients with Gaucher disease for their Gaucher symptoms, there are a number of physicians that specialize in diagnosing, managing, and treating patients with Gaucher disease. The standard of care is replacing the missing enzyme that is given through intravenous infusion. There are also small molecule therapies that decrease the lipid or abnormal fatty substance deposition that can be administered orally. Neither the existing approved small molecules nor the standard of care enzyme replacement therapy addresses the root cause of Gaucher disease. Currently, there are gene transfer therapies that are being developed. This will not only have the potential to treat the disease, but offer the option of one-time treatment that will provide long-term therapeutic option for patients with Gaucher disease.
Prevail Therapeutics is committed to the Gaucher community and is working to deliver a gene therapy that would ease the burden of disease and need for repeat treatment.
That's right. Their clinical trial Proceed is researching a potential disease-modifying gene therapy for Gaucher disease type 1, which focuses on the root cause of the disease. It is now open for patient enrollment, and you can visit clinicaltrials.gov for more information.
In order for my survival, my parents and I had to make sacrifices in our lives by being apart. I have not seen my parents in the past 10 years. It has been very difficult, and we recognize that that's one of the things that we have to give up in order for me to have a stable, healthy life with the treatment. So if we were to have a cure or a one-time treatment available, I think it would make a huge difference in the Gaucher patients' lives. For my own personal case, I would feel I would have the freedom to travel and to see my family. I never had known a day without Gaucher. I've realized that everyone has obstacles in their lives. And so we can't focus on the obstacles in life. What we have to focus is on the brighter and the beautiful side of living.
Thank you all so much for watching The Balancing Act presents Behind the Mystery of Gaucher Disease.
If you or someone you love has been diagnosed and want to get in touch with the Gaucher Community Alliance, visit gauchercommunity.org, or you can visit prevailtherapeutics.com.
And of course, as always, you can go to our website, thebouncingAct.com, for more information. Thanks so much for joining us.